This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just the
And so we're here, the last episode of the first season of the Coil Wars competition, a build comp that pits builders in weekly build challenges, eliminating them one by one until only one remains and is crowned the Coil Wars Champion. This moment has been 3 months in the making, and by the end of this episode we will have our champion. But I want to make it clear that all the competitors are winners. Of the almost 50 people who submitted their builds so that they can be considered to have a place in this competition, 11 of them won that opportunity. Your votes, the likes that got them entry into this competition, already has declared them all winners. Before we get started, I do want to take the time to thank everyone who made this competition what it is. The competitors who brought it week after week. Bad Motherfucking Mike, Dark Dog Customs, Mountain Tom, Macy Vapes, Laricus88, Tius CFTP, Ramo to You, Crazy Vapes, Skitsapart, Teddy Damped, and Divine83 VBC. You guys have made this competition what it is. It's been a wonderful opportunity to know you, to get to know you every week, and it's hard to say goodbye to you guys, honestly. It's strange. It's very strange. All the judges: Hazel Jedi, Proby300, Tommy Nekwa, Spaced Coils, Build Lab, Sean Obi27, First Kyle Jones, Trial and Vape, Beefy Billows, Greg Stevens 2, Sean Taft, Ghost Vapor, Trillix Vapes, Farrell, Tibbs Coils, Big Baller, Panzer Coil, Mindforge, and Squirming Coils. Squirming Coils, who is Randy Davis, and I actually said Randy Davis last week instead of Squirming Coils. I'm sorry about that, buddy. Thanks for your understanding there. You're awesome. You're a cool dude. I want to thank Dwayne Rambo. Without him, none of this would have ever happened. He's my partner all the way in Coil Wars. I could not have done this competition without his support. He's the co-creator of Coil Wars. He's been with me every step of the way. It wouldn't have been what it is without him. Thanks to the support of Geek Vape, Heaven Gifts, Avid Artisan, Vaporesso, whose products make up the items that we have in our giveaway, whose winner we'll announce in due time. Special thanks to Aeronaut Vapes for creating the Aeronaut V2, which is even better than the original Aeronaut. Reviews coming soon. And for giving us 3 of them for our 3 remaining competitors. Can't wait to get those out to you guys. To Vaping Swag for helping put together some beautiful merch, which is still on the way. And to a couple other contributors who we'll be talking about in due time, and a couple other judges who will also reveal in due time. It's been a wild ride. It's been 3 months, and it's an experience that I wouldn't have traded for the world. I've loved every minute of putting on this competition. Coil Wars is probably the thing that I'm most proud of having done ever since I started this YouTube channel about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, for me it's a real achievement. I'm really proud of what we did with this comp, and I'm looking forward to doing it all over again in the not too distant future. I feel like we did something really special here, guys. So thank you to everyone who was a part of it. This week we asked our competitors, past and present, a very simple question. We asked them what did they take away from having been a part of the Coil Wars competition. And Divine83 VBC says that he gained a lot of friends within the comp, and he feels as though he's become a better builder because of it. But the support is very humbling, from getting into Coil Wars and from feedback from vapors on Instagram and Facebook, to family and friends in everyday life. It's awesome. Building is something he loves, and he plans on doing a lot of for a long time. He says he guessed this kind of put the nail in the coffin and assured him that this is something that he should definitely continue and grow from it. And he says thanks to everyone for the support. Teddy Damped says that before Coil Wars, he only built about 80% braids. 80% of all his coils were braids. He always wanted to build other things before, but could not motivate himself. For the challenges, he had to build new builds or get eliminated from the competition. For this competition, he built his first alien in 7 months. He built his first stovetop, his first Suka, his first micro Claptons, his first bridge, and his first staggered stapled fused Clapton for this comp. He said that it was a great new experience for him, and he's thankful for Coil Wars. He says it was like a further education for him, that now he's more variable. He can build braids and he can build other things as well. He wants to thank me and Dwayne, and he hopes that we'll have him on to be a judge someday as well. He says in the Coil Wars chat he met some really nice mates. He wishes all the Warriors luck in the final, and all 3 of them he says are winners. He says that for him winning 6 of the challenges is amazing. He said that was a huge motivational boost for him, and he thanks Coil Wars. He can only advise anyone next time to enter this challenge. Crazy Vapes says that it was a hell of an opportunity to show the world what he was capable of. It taught him to think more creatively in an extremely short amount of time. To design, build, photograph in less than usually 3 to 4 days is no easy feat, he says, especially under pressure. For example, he says his hybrid build, he never attempted one before and somehow he pulled it off. He says the competition truly showed him how much the community appreciates our dedication to this hobby and this art form. He wants to express his thanks to me and Dwayne for the opportunity to show the world our art and the dedication to keep people into this hobby and off of cigarettes. He says that his wife went back to smoking a month ago, and then he finally got her to learn to start building. He says that with her first build, she was so proud of it, she threw the cigs out and said she's never going back. That's awesome. Skitsapart says that we did a great job putting this competition on legs. I guess getting this competition off and running. He says that what he took away from Coil Wars, that the first challenge for him was to translate German into English. He says thanks to Uncle Google again, Google Translator. He says he actually only participated in the fun and didn't think of coming into the season at all. He just linked a picture to the competition page and didn't realize what it was all about. When he entered, he didn't realize he was entering apparently. So I'm glad that he stuck around. He was under no obligation to. I'm glad he did. He says for him personally, Coil Wars always had only fun to build on. Every building you have not done before poses a challenge that you want to manage as well as possible. He says he's learned a lot. He's met some really cool guys who share the same hobby, the same interest. He says it's nice how they all came together without a fight breaking out between them. We had a group chat going on for all these guys, and there was never any drama, ever. Says he thinks that they all had a lot of fun in there. He also wants to thank his building colleagues, the Coil Wars team, and all the jurors for the cool time he could spend here. He says to remain all like we are and much success in the future. Viva la Vapeolution. Bad MF Mike. He says that what he took away first was that he needed to improve his photo skills. And he shows a couple pictures here. He says he went from this to this in just a couple weeks' time, with lots of help and tips from others. He says next he gained even more techniques from other builders. He never used swivels or a vise for building before. He says that some of the builds he made came out just by pure luck. He says now luck is out of the equation and he can build with confidence. And he says that that brings him to the most important thing that he took away from Coil Wars was Vape Fam. He says all the builders and judges and even the hosts have been family from start to finish. He says it never mattered if someone else may wind up beating you. We helped each other throughout. He says that's what matters, and that is why vaping will continue to beat smoking for years to come, because we support each other. He says thanks to everyone and thanks to me and Rambo. Macy Vapes says that Coil Wars has been one of the best experiences. He says that he'll remember it for the rest of his life. He's made 13 genuine friends for life, 11 Coil Warriors, and Josh and Rambo, all amazing people, that he has massive respect for all of them, and that they're all his vape brothers. He says he's also made coils in this competition that he would have never thought of making with the help of some really great people. He says it's really been amazing and he doesn't want it to end. He says good luck to the final 3 and vape on, fam. He says that his biggest takeaway is that anything is possible. You just have to try hard and it'll happen. TUCFTP says that he's taking away a whole lot of inspiration and tips and tricks. He learned a lot from the others in the Coil Wars competition, and he made a friendship that he doesn't want to ever lose. He says some were more crazy than others, but all were great dudes, no matter nationality or age or the fact that they competed together. He says he never saw any one of them not helping or giving a tip or answering a question when asked how to do something, like a braid, for example. He says he wishes more people were like this. Ramo to You says that he learned that he loves being challenged and competing. But seriously, he's learned that he should explore more things that he's not very skilled at. Even though he may feel that it won't be perfect in the end, he's a perfectionist, he says, he may discover a new idea or route that he wouldn't necessarily have taken before. Before the competition, he was stuck in a set routine and wouldn't stray from what he felt he was good at. Now he finds it pretty exciting trying new things, and when it works out, he feels that much more accomplished. Laricus88 would like to say that it was a great experience to meet and compete alongside some amazingly talented builders, and he enjoyed the challenge of pushing himself to try new things and progress himself as a builder. He says good luck to the eventual winner. Mountain Tom would like to express his thanks for having the opportunity to take part in such an amazing competition. Everyone has been so helpful and supportive, and he'd like to say that he's made some true friends as we progress through it. He started with not much hope and didn't have faith in what he was doing, but having been involved, he now takes pride in his work and he pushes himself every time. He says he sits at his build desk, and although this is called a competition, it's been more like a group of down-to-earth dudes helping each other and urging each other to progress as a builder. He says that he and everyone else has taken a lot from this, and he certainly wouldn't be where he is today if it wasn't for us and everyone who helped this become what it is. He says he knows that sounds cliche as shit, but it's true. He says thanks to all the judges, they must have had such a hard time picking out the winners of each round. He says the level of skill, imagination, and influence they had to consider was incomprehensible. He says who knew having one type of coil to build would lead to so many variations. He says thanks again for having him, it's been one hell of a ride, and he certainly appreciates the opportunity. He hopes to keep in touch with the guys and continue to share help and advice. He's really learned a lot. He says keep up the great work. Dark Dog Customs says, force yourself to evolve, step out of your comfort zone, and try something new and different. Until you do, you'll never know what you can accomplish as a builder with any other skill, craft, with life in general. I can tell you that Dwayne and I often marveled at how well everyone got along together. There was never really any sort of drama. It was kind of amazing. You wouldn't know that they were in a competition together if you weren't running the competition. It was just kind of great seeing how they all interacted like that. And I think that was my favorite thing about the Coil Wars competition, was watching them all come together and learning from each other. So many of them said like sort of a second education, and it was a second education for me too. I came out a better builder because of them. It was a privilege. An absolute privilege, gentlemen. The suggested build for this week was a hybrid coil. Coil that is made up of various different components, different build styles, all roped up into one coil. For example, the one that we made last week had a straight wire wrap, fuse Clapton wraps, a staggered fuse Clapton wraps, and it had alien wraps all in the same coil. So that's a hybrid coil. A number of different styles of builds all roped up into one coil. But we didn't want to hinder our competitors. We didn't want them to be encumbered in any way. We wanted them to be completely free on their final challenge to do anything that they wanted to do. We didn't want to limit them in any way, so we opened up this challenge to a completely freestyle build. Our competitors could build anything that they wanted to make for this challenge. Judges for the week. Our judges for this week include some of the biggest names in the vape world. First, I'd like to introduce you to one of the vape world's very first female builders, a huge inspiration to a heck of a lot of people, Nicole J27TX. In our Coil Wars group chat and in my discussions with Rambo, her name has come up more than once as not just one of the great female builders out there, but one of the great and influential builders out there, period. Her work exudes a mastery over helix and twisted style builds, a great eye for color, and a playfulness that is not often present in the work of wirecrafters. She made her Instagram debut just over 2 years ago, back in 2014, and like so many of the greats, her humble beginnings evolved into a style all her own. What I love most about Nicole's work is the playfulness of her later work, in which she starts to exhibit an entirely singular editing style in which she would incorporate cartoons and pop culture icons into her builds and drip shots. Characters like Betty Boop and Nemo and the Gremlins and the Minions became part of the artwork itself. Her style became so iconic that she began performing these and similar edits over the work of other great builders that were coming up around that time. Builders like Jones & Builds, Offworld, and Oh Mine all received similar treatments in their work. These days, Nicole works with Phil over at Vapix, a page with almost 130,000 followers, helping to promote some of the best products the vape world has to offer. Nicole is judging this event both as a representative of the VapeX project and as one of the most influential builders of our time. You've heard the name time and time again. In the vape community, in the build community, there are few who are more well known and more well respected. With original concepts like the Alien Coil, the Suka Coil, Reef Wire, the Arch Clapton, Blue-Eyed Goon 83 has paved the way for builders for years and years to come. 10 years from now, new builders experimenting with wire for the first time will aspire to master his creations. Sean, it's an honor to have you here today. Sean says that he started vaping in July of 2013 after the birth of his son. His first rebuildable was an authentic K-Fun Light, and his first authentic RDA was a Still Air version 1. He was always motivated by the other guys stepping outside the round wire box, like Kent, Victor Vapenstein, TKOHL, Squid Dude, Solid Vapor, and a few others. Really, he says he was just driven by the art and friendly competition at first. He never realized for a second that it would take him to the heights that it has. At this point, he says that he is a self-proclaimed retired builder. As with anything else, the newer generations have taken what early gens have done to new heights and are well beyond his skill or patience level. He feels like he's contributed to the evolution of building in a slight way, and now he has set his sights on evolving the hardware game the same way. Yeah, that Goon LP? As soon as that thing drops, you know I'm going to be on that pre-order. I cannot wait for that thing. It just looks so friggin' cool to build on. I can't wait to mess around with that thing. Few in the community can say that they've contributed more to the vape world and the build community than our last judge has. This dude gave up a career in architecture to pursue his dreams here in the vape world, and it shows in his work. He goes by the name of Squid Dude, though many call him simply the Dude. Ryan is the creator of the Fused Clapton Coil, the Staggered Fused Clapton Coil, the Staple Coil, the Staggered Staple Fused Clapton Coil, and the Frame Staple Coil, among others. All of which are explained in vivid detail in The Art of Vaping, his YouTube channel. A channel I personally consider to be the single greatest build channel on this entire website, on all of YouTube, and was a huge inspiration to my own channel when I started making my own build videos. They have a style all their own, and visually they are simply incredible. Today, Ryan has his own line of premium handmade coils, a juice line, branded wicking material, an incredibly innovative RDA, and his own line of apparel. He is considered by many, myself included, to be one of the most influential builders of all time. Case in point, the Staple Staggerton. Not his creation, but could not have been created without the tools he originally gave us with his staggered and stapled original concepts. Without Ryan's ingenuity and the concepts that he laid out, building today would look quite different than what it has become. Ryan, you're an asset to this community, and I thank you for taking the time to judge this last round of Coil Wars with us. Our judge's decision will decide once and for all who is the Coil Wars Champion. All of our competitors in the Coil Wars competition will receive a shirt from VapingSwag.com, a Coil Wars shirt with their names on the back. It was custom made for this competition. You can buy them as well at VapingSwag.com, but I have purchased shirts for each one of the competitors. Those items are currently en route to me. Once they arrive, they'll be going out to our competitors. Our top 3 competitors will each receive an Aeronaut V2 courtesy of Aeronaut Vapes. We're going to give the winner first choice because apparently not everyone agrees with me that the purple one is the coolest. Some people want the gold one a little bit more than the rainbow one. Go figure. I've got a singular taste, I guess. I don't know. Huge thank you to Daniel at Aeronaut Vapes for sending these over so we can get them out to the winning builders. I love the Aeronaut, and I love the Aeronaut V2 even more. It's the greatest RDA that's ever been made as far as I'm concerned. I can't wait to get this out to you guys. If you've never tried one, you need to tell me how you like it. But the champion, Coil Wars Champion, is going to receive this one-of-a-kind box mod designed specifically for the Coil Wars competition. This box has been a labor of love, a true labor of love. Dwayne Rambo started designing this box weeks before he told me about it. He worked with a builder by the name of Greg Nelson, a box maker by the name of Greg Nelson. That's his logo right here. He worked with him to create the perfect box for a builder. Basically a builder's dream. Triple parallel unregulated box with a 30mm 510. 2 international rectifier 3034 MOSFETs in parallel. Alpine Tech 1590B CNC enclosure. Alpine Tech 12mm switch. Mod sleds, triple 18650 3D printed sled. Fat Daddy vapes, 30mm low profile 510, and magnets are installed to only fit the right way. This box is a thing of beauty. I kind of want one myself, and you know Waffles won't let me play with unregulated mods, but I desperately want one myself. This thing, oh man. The finish is just buttery, silky smooth on this paint job. And it doesn't end there. We sent it to an engraver as well. Normally Greg's boxes are sort of printed on here, his logo, and that's it. And they're beautiful boxes like that. But we wanted to go the extra mile for our winner, so Dwayne contacted an engraver who he had befriended on Facebook, and we had it sent from the mod maker to the engraver so he could put this on the front and engrave Greg's logo on the back. This box is truly one of a kind, and I gotta tell you, the performance. Greg's been dying for me to tell him about the performance of this mod, and I gotta tell you, Greg, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Absolutely perfect. I couldn't have imagined it any better. I want to say that they've taken out the lean, too. There's no lean to this Hammond box. It's perfect in every way. But that's not the whole story of this box. You have to understand that Dwayne didn't actually pay money for this box. What he did was he created sets of coils and traded them to Greg in exchange for making the box. So this box mod was created for Coil Wars and funded with a trade of actual coils to get it made. He did this entirely on his own before I knew anything about it. We did pay the engraver. The engraver is actually not a vapor. The mod itself is completely funded with coils created for the Coil Wars competition. It's truly a special piece. Greg, you're amazing for putting this together. It's a thing of beauty, and the engraving on it, the engraving is just gorgeous. Perfect. Vapes, awesome. It's phenomenal. I'm trying to use it as little as possible so that when I get it out to the winner, it's as pristine as it can possibly be. We're going to kick this week off with Skitsapart. Skitsapart created a pair of 30 gauge cores and 38 gauge staggered Claptons to make up his frames. Inside, separated by a Clapton consisting of a 30 gauge core and a 42 gauge Clapton wrap, he's got a pair of 5 loop 35 gauge vertebrades, and he's fused it all together in 38 gauge. Beautiful progression of color here in Skitsapart's build. Golds into oranges and blues and purples, and ending all wicked up with some very subtle pastels. A clean glow shot as well, all mounted up in the Raven RDA from Vapor's Cloud. Next up, Teddy Damped went a bit outside of his comfort zone with this build. Here he created his first build using corrugated ribbon. He took 2 strands of 0.4mm ribbon and corrugated them down the middle, followed by 3 strands of straight ribbon on either side, and framed it in 26 gauge, which he staggered and fused every third wrap with 38 gauge. It's a thick beast of a coil with 3 wraps on the Aeronaut RDA. He's got the top tube in the bottom here, and you can see how chunky this wire is the way it's hanging out the posts. The coil uses just about every spare millimeter of space in this 24mm deck. I like the choice he's made to keep the staggering more sparse. You can really see what's going on with the cores in there. And I'd be hard pressed to choose a favorite between the macro here and the through and through shot. It's almost like a skeleton here. It's just a great build. And our last build comes from Ndivine83 VBC. Nick created a helix build here, a hybrid helix build to be precise. From the inside out, he has 4 strands of 0.4 ribbon, 2 nichrome and 2 kanthal that he's framed in 28 gauge. Then he's taken 38 gauge and created a staggered stapled fuse Clapton for the 2 most inner wraps and an alien for the 2 outer wraps. He's twisted 2 strands of 26 gauge together, 1 nichrome and 1 kanthal, and frame the build on either side, helixing it over with 5 strands of 38 gauge. The mix of nichrome and kanthal here helps to create some really beautiful and interesting colors and patterns in the build, where all the nichrome is changing color and the kanthal remains unchanged. So all you see here is pops of color coming in on the twist and on the 2 strands of wire in the center of the staggered stapled fused Clapton. It's a very vibrant, very colorful, and interesting coil that Nick's put together here. Lots of blues toward the end of the pulsing process, but my favorite has to be the macro midway through, where the colors are a mix of purples and blues and yellows and oranges. He's got an intelligent use of wire here mounted up in the goon. Before we reveal our Coil Wars Champion, let's hit up the randomizer and find out who is going to be taking home the awesome Coil Wars giveaway. I have a total of 313 names in this list over on random.org. We're going to go ahead and hit the randomize button and find out who is our winner. Drum roll, please. And our winner is, I hope I'm saying this right, Hervé Blanchon. So, Hervé, congratulations. You're the winner of the Coil Wars giveaway. So, Hervé, you're going to receive this awesome 521 Master Kit V2. You're going to get this Vaporesso build mat, something we forgot to mention in the giveaway last week when we announced it. Sorry about that, Vaporesso. Yeah, they sent this on over with some of their latest devices, and we just went ahead and added it to the giveaway, and I forgot to mention it. So, you're going to get this nice build mat to build on as well. You're going to get the Griffin 25 Plus, the Avocado 24, the Tsunami 24 Plus, the Daedalus from Avid Artisan, a 10-foot roll of Juggernaut wire, 10-foot roll of fused Clapton wire, 10-foot roll of Caterpillar track wire, a Geek Vape hat, and a Geek Vape shirt. So we got a nice giveaway set up for you. Congratulations, Ari. With that, the winner of the Coil Wars competition. First choice of the Aeronaut V2. Personally, I think the rainbow's a little cooler than the gold, if you ask me, but that's just me, I guess. And the one-of-a-kind Coil Wars box mod, the labor of love from Dwayne Rambo, Greg Nelson, and our engraver, Dustin. The winner is... I mean, the moment I say it, it's over. The warrior, who will have the right to call himself the Coil Wars Champion, is none other than Schizopart. Congratulations, Sasha. Schizopart says that he honestly did not expect it, and he is of course glad to bring the title to Germany. He would like to thank all the participants of Coil Wars, myself and Rambo, his building colleagues, and the judges for this season. He'd like to give a very special thanks to his father and mother who have begotten, born, and raised him. He loves them. He says thank you also to his wire suppliers, RDA and mod and box manufacturers, cotton manufacturers, liquid labelers, Nikon, and Sigma for the photo equipment. He says thank you for everything, and Viva La Vapeolution. And with that, I'd like to reintroduce you to my partner, Dwayne Rambo, co-creator of Coil Wars, who'd like to say a few words.
What's up, YouTube? First, I'd like to thank every builder that participated, everybody that submitted a build. You really made this happen. Each and every week we gave you a challenge, and each and every week you guys came through and blew my mind away. Absolutely amazing. Each and every one of you are great builders. You've inspired the community, and I'm sure the community is thankful for it. The judges, each and every one of you, stepped up to the plate and executed. You did your job, and you did a good job, and I thank you, every one of you, for it. Josh, I didn't forget about you either, bud. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for doing this. You nailed it, man. I couldn't have asked for better. And I'm very thankful for it. And look forward to seeing more Coil Wars. I'm in the background and my mind is constantly spinning, trying to come up with more ideas, better ideas. It's going to be hard to top this season. I can tell you that right now. But we're going to try. And last but not least, I'd like to congratulate the winner. Schizopart, it's well deserved. You're an excellent builder, a huge inspiration to the community. But like I said, I don't want to look past all the other builders. You guys are all fantastic. All of you, each and every one of you. I can't stress that more. You guys just blow my mind, inspire me. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you out there in YouTube land for supporting Coil Wars, supporting Josh's channel. I hope it's inspired you to pick up a drill and get to building. Or if you already built, I hope it inspired you to do some new builds. You know, this inspiration that Coil Wars is giving, it's amazing. It really is. So with all that being said, look forward to another season of Coil Wars coming up in the future. I've got some more coils to get to building. Peace out, YouTube.
The shoutouts on the Coil Wars page this week. It was Oh my goodness, the turnout of builds that were submitted to the Coil Wars page this week just blew my mind. Not only were there just so many of them, but so many of them were just awesome. Amazing builds this week from everyone who contributed to the Coil Wars page. They just kept coming and coming and coming. It was just an awesome farewell week for the final week of the Coil Wars competition. I can't thank you guys enough. I love what you guys did for this page this week, and I'm just gonna go scrolling on through them because there's just so many, and so many of them just deserve their due. They're just awesome. First, I'm going to show you the series from Irk, which should have been on last week, but I just missed it. It is a half staggered fused Clapton made up entirely of Clapton coils. Endivine 83 VBC was on there with some Halloween edits. Clouds for Days is on there. I'm not sure how to say this. SECACW put out his first ever hybrid coil. Jitis Vapes threw out this 6-core staggered fused Clapton, but wait, there's more from him, so hold on to that thought. That is a half staggered stapled alien from Steamiac Vape Kicks right there. Corsicaya put out his first ever hybrid build. PT Coil has this staple series spread out through this entire page here. This series from Space Coils is spread out through here as well. It is really, really awesome. This one from Tasty Ohm Coils, this hybrid series knocked me on my ass. I love this one. I love all the pictures here, but I especially love the ones where he is basically in the viewfinder of his camera. I guess that was just the first one from Tasty Ohm Coils where he's in the viewfinder, but I love that shot because you have that cannon down there. Totally cool. Yeah, this series from Space Coils, just mind-bending with the upside down and the inside out stuff going on. Love that. Logo Vape is on here. TUCFTP has several series on here. He basically did sort of a retrospective in Razorback wire. It's really challenging stuff, and it's next on my list of what I want to learn to do. I'm going to be having some fun with that very, very shortly. A bunch of builds from Panzer Coil and Procrastination builds spread out through here. There's another Razorback from TUCFTP. This awesome winch coil from the Mike Vapor Journey. Dave Excore with some vertebrades. Maui Coils Co. with this ginormous hybrid coil. Jeebus. That thing is big. Someone say series build. Oh, there it is. That's the 10-core staggered fused Clapton from Jitis Vapes. Crazy Vapes has this awesome series spread out through here. This hybrid alien series. Clapton aliens in the middle and regular aliens on the sides. Super cool. Logo Vape. There's more of that build from PT Coil. Teddy Damp's build. Las Vapes has this awesome dragon skin coil here. Old school stuff right there, man, but super cool and well executed. Oh man, this hybrid from Jitis Vapes. I love this hybrid from Jitis Vapes. It's just so cool because those wraps are just, there's just such a dichotomy between the size of those wraps. I love that build. Love it. Macy Vapes on here with an awesome Staggerton. Here's more of that build from Crazy Vapes, getting some nice color in there, man. And another one from Jitis Vapes, Glow Shot in this Enigma with this Clapton runner. Oh man, that looks cool. I'm not even sure what's going on here with this one. Is it like a split alien? Is that what's happening here? Like an alien with a split in the middle? That's crazy. Ramo's build. Oh man, I love Ramo's build. It's an Enigma in the middle with parallel Sukas, and it's all over a staple. There's that build from Jitis Vapes all mounted up. Split core alien, a 10 split core alien. Huh, that's really interesting. Love this one from Zeke's Traveler, this 10-ply staggered stapled fused Clapton Infinity Coil and mounted up in the Goon. Squirt 705 has a few builds on here. More from TU's, more from Teddy. Dan W. Guy put out a couple of really nice hybrids. I'll show you the other one in a bit. The other one is even better than this one. That's the one that I really like from Squirt 705. This montage, I love this montage here. There's another really cool montage from Squirt 705 too. I think Space Coils had a lot of fun with this series. Vape Beast 36 TVL on here with looks like some Claptons with reef wire on there. It's just crazy. Coil Builder J VBC has some of these really nice shots. This frame staple alien, this spaced frame staple alien. Big Texas Vapor Shop. Panzer Coil has a few builds on here. Like I said, there's another one from Tasty Ohm Coils. Decaf 115 is on here. Chaos Heisen. I mean, I love the color on this shot, man. The color on this shot is just ridiculous. Oh, there's that other one from Dan W. Guy. Man, a 4-core hybrid coil, aliens on the side, and a staggerton down the middle. Man, Teus, that razorback wire, you can really see it on that one, man. That is friggin' cool. There's another one from N Divine 83 VBC. One from Coil Country 970, some nice color on that, man. More from Panzer Coil, Squirt 705, Procrastination Builds. Awesome, guys. Thank you all so much for participating and contributing to the Coil Wars page. Amazing. And with that, thank you to everyone who has been contributing to the Coil Wars page and has helped grow the page to more than 2,000 followers already in this short amount of time. It's going to be you guys who follow this page and contribute to it, who help grow this page into something even bigger than it already is, who grow this competition into something bigger than even I or Dwayne can possibly imagine right now. Because the war isn't over. The battle is just beginning. With that in mind, I'd like to tell you about what's coming up next. Introducing Coil Wars Battles. Each month, we're going to pose a new challenge to the Coil Wars page. For the entire month, we'll focus on one open-ended challenge. An entire month in which we focus on one skill, one technique, one build style that we want to put out there and see what you guys can take and run with and make your own. A photo like contest will determine the top 5 submissions, and those top 5 submissions will be elevated on up to a panel of judges. So each month on this channel, we're going to have a new installment of Coil Wars Battles where we chronicle the conclusion of that battle and announce the next challenge. So with that, we'll have something to tide us over until Season 2 of Coil Wars is set to begin, which is coming, just not yet. The first battle that the Coil Wars page and this channel is going to host will be the Corrugated Ribbon Challenge, also known as Ivy Wire. Originally created by OhmBoy OC in the form of zigzag wire, it's been sort of readopted and reimagined by a builder who was formerly a judge here on Coil Wars. You may recall Barrel. An Ivy Wire build can take so many different forms. You've seen it in a number of staggerton variations and staggered staple fuse Clapton variations, but where I first fell in love with it was in Farrell's original Ivy Wire build. 3 strands of ribbon wire that were sort of stacked together, and the middle strand was corrugated. That was the build that made me fall in love with the style immediately. The original concept from which all most recent Ivy Wire builds come from. And for a long time, I tried to figure out what Farrell's secret was, how he did this, how did he get this wire to, corrugate in this fashion. And I tried so many different things to do it. See, his original method was to use 2 screwdrivers, the grooves in the screwdrivers to sort of mash that pattern, that wave into the wire. And I gotta tell you, he's from the UK. Maybe screwdrivers work that way in the UK. They don't work that way over here. It's just not as clean. It doesn't work right. It's incredibly difficult, and it just never came out right. I made one build using that, and I hated it. It just wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right. It wasn't nearly as clean as some of the ones that I'd seen. I drove Waffles crazy with this, talking to her about this kind of wire and how fascinating it was and how I couldn't find anything to make it. I envisioned that if I could find the right can opener, I could use a can opener to do it. And I started using our can opener, but it was just too deep. The grooves were like ginormous. It would have been about like that thick. It just wouldn't have worked at all, and I gave up on that real quick. And I found these 2 flashlights, and I was able to get the groove into the wire using the flashlights, the ends of the flashlights, the light portion. I screwed it off, and I would take them together, and I would go like this. But whenever I went to use it, the wire would just straighten itself back out. Every time I went to make it into a coil, it just wouldn't work. It wasn't deep enough. And then this build challenge, Coil Wars competition. Builders were showing off things like this. 2 gears placed together, on a block. This one is store-bought, a little hefty in price, about $15 for this. But a lot of the builders in the competition were showing things that they had made themselves by getting gears and getting a wood block at the hardware store. That's it. So you can make your own one of these, or you can buy it. The company that makes this one is Three Bird Studio, and I'll have a link in the description if you want to pick this one up. This is definitely a nicer one, if you ask me, because it's made of metal. Some of them are made of plastic. Some of the plastic ones are nice though. They come with different sizes and different sort of gauges for the gears that go together, so you can get some varying shapes. So there's some options out there for something like this, but I like this one. I like that it's metal, it holds up really well. I like that it's small and it's easy to store. For this particular build, it's kind of the thicker the ribbon wire, the better. You can use something like 0.1 by 0.8 ribbon wire. It's 0.8 millimeters wide and 0.1 millimeters thick. That was the first one that I ever made successfully, and I made it during the hurricane. Coilmaster recently sent me, some of this ribbon wire, and they included this 0.2 by 0.8 ribbon wire, so it's twice as thick as the 0.1. So I was really excited to use this for this particular build. Using something like 0.1 by 0.4, I suppose you could try to use that. This would be great for incorporating it into something like a Staggerton or a staggered staple fuse Clapton, something like that, where you're stacking ribbon wire. That's what the 0.4 and 0.5 would be great for. But this 0.2 and that 0.1 is going to be great for this particular build. And what we're doing is we're going to stack 3 strands of ribbon wire together. 2 straight ribbon wire cores and 1 corrugated ribbon core. So what I like to do is take a strand about 2 times off the spool and set it aside. That's our straight wire strands. And I like to take a strand about 1.5 times off the spool. That's our corrugated strand, because corrugating it, it's going to actually shrink the length. So it's going to bring it not quite even with the 2 times off the spool. It's going to be folded in half, but close. You can get more specific and you can measure. Dwayne actually scolded me a few times for wasting ribbon wire because I wasn't measuring accurately. But the thing is, I don't like to measure so much. There's always a cutaway in the spool where I can anchor that wire, and I like to use that anchor whenever possible. Otherwise, it can just create a mess. I suppose alternatively, you can use something like a spool tamer, something like that. That way you're not limited by that, and you can measure it. But I just don't. You can be more precise. I just choose to go by wraps around the spool. So those 2 turns off the spool, we're straightening those as much as we possibly can, pulling it with the pliers so that it'll stay straight as possible. And the strand that we're corrugating, honestly, it doesn't really matter so much, because if you ask me, one of the coolest things about corrugating ribbon wire is that it doesn't matter how messed up the ribbon wire gets in the process. Corrugating the ribbon wire actually works to straighten it out. Most strands of ribbon wire, I will cut off the ends that get kind of janky when I'm taking them off the spool, but with the corrugated ribbon wire, I don't have to do that. It'll sort of turn itself in here while you're pushing it through these 2 gears. It'll sort of straighten out the wire and spin the wire in there so that all lines up properly as you're feeding it on through. Sometimes I get spools of ribbon wire that kind of got a snag in them. Taking it off the spool, it ruined it essentially. It would be ribbon that I'd normally throw out. I can shove this through here, makes it into perfectly corrugated ribbon wire. It doesn't matter how bent out of shape that ribbon is, this thing fixes it into a perfectly corrugated strand. It helps me get more mileage out of my ribbon. Another reason that I really like corrugated ribbon is that it's actually raising the resistance of the wire. Higher ohms, because it's been corrugated like that. I can use more stacks of ribbon that gets more surface area. I like it personally. Some people would rather build lower. I prefer to build a little bit higher for my ohms. Higher ohms, I can put it on more devices. I like that. So once I've got my corrugated strand and my straight wire double strand, I fold the straight wire in half, and then I put the corrugated strand in the middle. And that's really all there is to it. From there, I'll start wrapping around my bit, and I use a 3mm bit for this. Wrapping this wire is a little bit different than how you'd wrap a regular coil. You'd think that the right way to go about this would be to wrap it up as much as you can in some leftover 40 gauge to keep it all together. Wrap it up real light gauge, and then once it's all wrapped together into a coil, cut off the wire that's holding it together, but I really don't like doing that. It actually just makes it harder to wrap the coil, if you ask me. What I do here is I'm wrapping the wire just straight. I'm not using anything to hold this wire together, maybe at the very ends, but nothing in the middle. In gripping this wire, it's kind of hard to explain. It's not like you're wrapping a regular wire where you can just grip it with your thumb and your index finger and just wrap around your bit. This is a little bit different because that wire is stacked. It's little by little wrapping it, and it's sort of coming at it from the side like this, holding the wires together and then wrapping like this, and then slowly wrapping it together, sometimes using both hands in this sort of motion, this sort of winged sort of motion while you're wrapping the coil. It's hard to explain, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Honestly, for me, it took me about 8 or 9 tries the first time to wrap this coil. That's what I'm saying about the corrugated. Corrugating the ribbon, it's nice. Even if you fuck up the wire, corrugating it, it makes it perfectly corrugated. No matter how fucked up the wire is, you can fix it by corrugating it. I love that. Especially with a build like this, it takes a few tries to wrap it right. And after it's wrapped, it's going to have a bit of springiness to it. You could take out the springiness by torching the wire first, but I don't like doing that, honestly. I don't like torching the wire first. It makes it more malleable, yeah. Removes any possibility of getting any color out of the coil. Makes the wire weaker as well, if you ask me. I'm pre-torching it. I don't like doing that. Pulsing it with my mod. That's how I like to get my build all situated. Getting this into the RDA. The thing about this particular build, perfect for a velocity style deck. Honestly, wouldn't recommend putting this particular build in much else but a velocity style deck if you're going to be building it as a vertical coil. I like it as a vertical coil personally. And what I do is I slide the wire all the way down to the edge of the bit, put the bit in head first down into the deck of the RDA. And it's really great with bottom airflow RDAs too. You can sort of rest your bit inside the airflow system while you're positioning your leads. The thing is about anchoring these leads into your posts is you really only get one chance to do it right. It can kind of create a mess with the ribbon, and it's a lot more difficult to fix than to get it positioned right before you put it into your posts. As you screw it into the post, the wires kind of fan out a little bit, and that's how you know you've positioned it right, because those wires are stacked one on top of the other, and the screws and the posts are making contact in such a way that it's pushing all 3 of those wires together. If they're out of alignment, then the wraps around the coil, they're going to be pushed out of alignment as well. The key is to keep it all in alignment while it's going into the posts and while you're tightening down the screws and while you're wrapping it as well. That's the real challenge with this build, if you ask me. And it takes a little bit of dexterity and it takes a little bit of practice. But once you get it, oh man, A, it looks awesome, and B, it vapes fantastic. Last I checked, it ohms out at about 0.12, 0.13 ohms, which makes sense because it's the 0.2 ribbon wire. The 0.1 ribbon wire, when it's dualed up, ohms out at about 0.25, so half that. Yeah, it all kind of makes sense. And single coil, the 0.1 will ohm out at about 0.5. I bet the 0.2 would ohm out at about 0.25 when it's singled up. It's a flavorful, delicious sort of vape. The way it is with the bottom airflow addy, it's not directed right underneath the coil because that would just create a leaky sort of system. But I sort of angle the coil toward the airflow, and the airflow is actually, from what I can tell, passing through or right at the corrugated wrap and the space created from the regular straight ribbon wire wraps. Air passing right through that while juice is collecting in that area too. I mean, the way that this coil works, honestly, it could function as a wickless coil. I sort of wick straight down through it so that juice collects in it a bit. It's still feeding through the cracks in those wraps, spaces between the corrugated wrap and the straight ribbon wraps. And it just is a super flavorful vape. Like, I'm drooling right now. I'm vaping on some of this snob juice right now. This is OhmBoy. Got a juice review coming up on this line soon. It's really good. And this is sort of a key lime pie kind of vape. It's delicious, man. Just delicious. And that box is a performer. A real performer. It hits hard, let me tell you. I've got it all mounted up in the Tsunami 24 Plus. This build will work great in any velocity style deck, I believe. I sometimes wonder if it would work better in a straight airflow kind of addy, airflow coming in from the sides rather than from underneath, because it'll be hitting the coil head on either side. But I don't know, I kind of feel like it works really well in a bottom airflow addy too. And that 0.2 ribbon wire ohms out nice and low. Ohms out 0.13 ohms dualed up like this. It's delicious. And super cloudy too. It's a great vape. I recommend it if you've got a bit of patience. This particular build takes a bit of patience to get the wrap right, because as you're wrapping it, it's really easy for those wires to come out of alignment. Wrapping it by hand without any aid of any sort of prep wire that's in place there seems to work better for me. The thicker the wire, the better. 0.1, 0.2 ribbon wire is a real treat to use for this, let me tell you. You can use nichrome, you can use Kanthal. This is Kanthal ribbon that we're using, and I certainly recommend you give this build a try. And like I said, it's a challenge for this month. That is corrugated ribbon wire. You can use corrugated ribbon wire in any way that you like. You can use it in a wrap like this. You can do it in a staggerton, in a staggered stapled fused Clapton. You can use it in anything. If you don't have ribbon wire, you can even corrugate straight wire if you want to. There's lots of builds out there that incorporate straight wire and use the same technique. You can fuse over the ribbon wire before you do this, like use something like 50 gauge or something like that. Yeah, 50 gauge. I've never used it, but I don't know if I could do it with 40 gauge. I think that would make it too thick, but I haven't tried it yet. I might. This might not be the last corrugated ribbon wire build you see from me this month. I'm hoping to put a couple more out there. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's a wrap on the first season of Coil Wars. That's a wrap on the last episode of the first season of Coil Wars, and the introduction to Coil Wars battles. Till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, vapors.